You're sitting in a meeting. Someone across the table opens their mouth wide, eyes squeezing shut, and takes that long, slow breath. And before you even realize it's happening, your jaw drops open too. You yawn. You didn't mean to. You weren't even tired. But something in you responded to a stranger's open mouth, like a reflex you never agreed to have. That's strange when you think about it. Really strange. Your body just copied someone else's involuntary biological function without your permission. No thought. No choice. Just an automatic echo of another person's body doing something your brain decided you also needed to do. Why would evolution build that into you? What is actually happening inside your skull when you catch a yawn? The answer is far stranger than you think. For most of recorded history, yawning was blamed on boredom or tiredness. Ancient physicians thought it was the body expelling bad air. Medieval healers worried an open mouth during a yawn invited evil spirits inside, which is actually why we still cover our mouths today. But those explanations are wrong, or at least wildly incomplete. Because the real story of yawning reaches all the way back to the earliest vertebrates on Earth, and it says something unsettling about the kind of creature you actually are. Let's start with why you yawn at all. The most popular modern theory, held for decades by scientists, was that yawning increased oxygen intake. Your body gets sluggish, your brain craves more oxygen, you yawn to pull in a big gulp of air. Clean, simple, logical, also almost certainly false. In 1987, a researcher named Robert Provine ran a series of experiments at the University of Maryland that quietly destroyed this theory. He exposed participants to air with elevated carbon dioxide levels, expecting more yawning. It didn't happen. Then he tried air with elevated oxygen. Still no change in yawning rate. The oxygen theory collapsed. Whatever yawning is doing, it is not about your blood gases. A more recent and compelling theory comes from a researcher named Andrew Gallup at Princeton. His work suggests yawning is actually a brain-cooling mechanism. The idea is surprisingly elegant. When your brain temperature rises, either from fatigue, stress, or a transition between sleep states, a wide yawn stretches the muscles around your jaw and skull, which increases blood flow. Simultaneously, the deep inhale draws cooler air across the tissues near your nasal cavity, which may help lower the temperature of blood flowing toward your brain. Gallup found that people yawn less in cold environments than warm ones. He found that holding a cold pack to your forehead actually reduces contagious yawning. The brain, it seems, may be using your open mouth as a radiator. But here's where it gets interesting. If yawning is just a physiological cooling mechanism, why does it spread from person to person? A radiator doesn't catch fire from watching another radiator. Temperature regulation is private. It happens inside you. Why would seeing someone else's cooling behavior trigger your own? That's the question that leads you somewhere much deeper. Contagious yawning is not random. It does not spread equally between all people. Research shows it is strongly linked to empathy. In study after study, the people who score highest on measures of empathy are also the most susceptible to catching a yawn. Psychologist Stephen Platek at Drexel University ran brain imaging studies while participants watched videos of people yawning. What he found was striking. The areas of the brain that lit up were not the areas associated with tiredness or temperature. They were the areas associated with self-processing and social cognition, the regions your brain uses to understand other minds. Contagious yawning, it appears, is a byproduct of your ability to feel what other people feel. This is where your ancient ancestors enter the story. You were a social primate. Your survival for millions of years did not depend on being the strongest or the fastest. It depended on belonging to a group. Groups that coordinated better survived better. Groups that could unconsciously synchronize their behaviors, their sleep cycles, their vigilance states, their arousal levels, had a measurable advantage over groups that couldn't. And yawning, researchers now believe, may have evolved as one of the earliest tools of behavioral synchrony, a contagious signal that spread through a group and helped align the physiological states of its members. Think about what that means in practice. One member of your ancestral group begins to wind down. They yawn. That yawn spreads. Others yawn. The group begins to transition into the same state simultaneously. Sleep becomes coordinated. Watchfulness shifts in unison. The group breathes together, metaphorically and perhaps literally. You are not catching a yawn because you are tired. You are catching a yawn because your nervous system is designed to mirror the states of the people around you. It is one of the oldest social functions in the vertebrate brain, and it starts remarkably early in life. Fetuses yawn in the womb. Research led by Nadja Riceland at Durham University captured four-dimensional ultrasound footage of fetuses yawning as early as 11 weeks of gestation. They yawn more frequently as the brain develops. But here is the critical detail. Contagious yawning does not appear in children until around the age of 4 or 5. Younger children do not catch yawns. Autistic children, who often show differences in social mirroring and empathy processing, also show significantly lower rates of contagious yawning. The contagious element is not biological in the same way the yawn itself is. It is social. It is empathic. It is a capacity that develops alongside the ability to model another person's inner world. You have to be able to feel someone else before you catch their yawn. Dogs catch yawns from humans too. Multiple studies have confirmed this, including research published by Ramiro Joly Mascheroni at Birkbeck, University of London, which showed that dogs yawned more in response to human yawning than to control sounds. And not just any humans. Dogs were more likely to catch a yawn from their owner than from a stranger. Bonobos catch yawns more readily from members of their own social group than from outsiders. The contagion is not just about seeing a mouth open. It is about social closeness, about the bond between one nervous system and another. You are more likely to catch a yawn from someone you love than from a stranger. There is something worth sitting with in that sentence. This mechanism in you, this automatic mirroring of another body's state, is the same fundamental machinery that underlies all empathy. When someone cries, something in your face responds before your mind catches up. When someone describes physical pain, your pain-related neural pathways activate faintly, like a quiet echo. When someone yawns, your jaw follows. These are not separate phenomena. They are the same ancient system operating at different levels of intensity. Mirror neurons, a class of brain cells first discovered in macaque monkeys by researchers at the University of Parma in the 1990s, fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing that action. They are the neural substrate of imitation, of learning, and possibly of empathy itself. Some researchers argue they are the biological foundation of everything that makes you social. The yawn you catch is, at the cellular level, the same process that allows you to understand a friend's grief, to wince when you watch someone stub their toe, to feel the rhythm of a room when you walk into it. Your body was built to resonate with other bodies. That is not a poetic metaphor. It is a neurological fact, millions of years in the making. Now think about the last time you tried to suppress a yawn in a meeting, lips pressed together, jaw aching with the effort of not giving in. You were fighting your own social nervous system. You were resisting the oldest form of belonging your species has. You were trying to stop the very mechanism that, for nearly your entire evolutionary history, kept your group alive by keeping it synchronized. And now think about who you catch yawns from most easily. Not strangers, not people you barely know. The yawns that get you, the ones that spread instantly before you can stop them, come from the people your nervous system has decided to stay close to. The people whose inner states your brain has learned to track. The people who, without a word, can change what your body is doing just by changing what theirs is doing. Tonight, someone near you is going to yawn, and your jaw is going to drop open. And for just a moment, the two of you will be doing the same ancient thing at the same time, your brains briefly cooling to the same temperature, your nervous systems briefly synchronized, your bodies unconsciously agreeing to be in the same state together. You'll cover your mouth and move on without thinking about it, but something very old just passed between you.